Krećemo na prvu točku programa. Svi znamo da Keynote speaker na Bug Future Show uvijek je među top ocjenjenima, uvijek je nekako užasno zanimljiv. Treba biti naš Hrvoje Bujas, ali on, nažalost, je dobio koronu, tako da ne može. Hrvoje, što prije ozdravi, evo, svi držimo fige, da se što prije oporaviš, ali imamo pre dobru zamjenu. Svi ste sigurno vidjeli po portalima, svi ste vidjeli po vijestima, zadnjih prije par mjeseci, čovjek koji se zove Jan de Jong je na LinkedInu postavio jedan upit, odnosno zašto jednostavno ne omogućimo vize digitalnim nomadima. I to je postalo viralno i čak i vlada i Plenković i svi su to vidjeli, on je bio na sastanku i uspio promijeniti zakon. Keynote se zove I didn't break any laws, but I broke the rules and I changed the law. Dame i gospodo, možete slobodno pisati u chat jej ili tako nešto. Inače, chat ne vrijedi za nagradnu igru. Kao što rekao sam, ono pitanje je belala. Tako da slobodno stavite jej u chat ili pozdravite ga. To je Jan de Jong. Režija, dajte vi malo aplauza. Treba nam malo BFS-a tu. To.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to leave the stage, then I'm going to maybe have a couple of questions.
Sounds good.
The internet or
Okay, thank you very much.
The stage is yours.
Dobro jutro svima. Good morning. The first time I was introduced to the world of marketing was when I was 15 years old, back in high school. And I remember it like it was yesterday, listening to my professor, who very often spoke about how to differentiate yourself from your competition. I want you to take a moment and think about companies and individuals that for some reason stand out. That for some reason you're able to remember. Now, what is it that those companies and individuals have in common? What they have in common is that they're able to differentiate themselves, and by doing so, get noticed and rise above all the noise. You, me, all of us, we are all unique. But somehow, we are all trying so hard to fit in and to act and behave like everybody else. The title of this show is Breaking All the Rules. Now, I could be standing here and give you textbook examples on what that means or how to do that. But what I would rather do is take you with me on my journey on how I moved from the Netherlands to Croatia, started living the Croatian dream, how I had to break several rules in order to get to where I am today, and how I even managed to change 2 laws by breaking the rules. But it started a long time ago. When I was 17 years old, I received a phone call from a very dear friend, Mark. And Mark had recently started working in a contact center called M+ Group in the Netherlands. And he asked me whether I would be interested in joining him, where we had to sell products and services over the phone. And that sounded very interesting to me. So I decided to apply, and I got hired. Now, you need to know that they created a highly competitive atmosphere in that contact center. It was so competitive that every Thursday, the call center manager would walk in and would fire the worst performing call agents and replace them with new colleagues. And after I had survived several rounds of elimination, I realized that it was very difficult for me to get to know new colleagues, let alone to make new friendships. Because by the time that I could do so, those people would very often already be fired, including my dear friend Mark. And that resulted in call agents solely focusing on hitting their own sales targets. Everybody, except for me. What I decided to do instead is I wrote down my call script and I gave that to the other call agents, and I was teaching them how to improve their sales pitch so that they could also hit their sales target, so that they could also avoid getting fired during the next round of elimination. And my efforts were recognized by the management and awarded with several promotions. And by the time that I was 21 years old, I was operationally in charge of running the contact center that employed at that moment more than 200 people. At the same time, I was studying marketing at the university, and I was about to enter my final year, where I had to write my final thesis, my diplomski rad. Now, I could have, just like all my other fellow students, I could have decided to do that with a Dutch company, continue my career in the Netherlands, which would have probably given me a life that would have been very steady, comfortable, predictable. But I chose to go a different route instead. I went to the owner of M+ Group, contact center, and I asked Mato whether he would like the idea if I would go to Croatia to write my final thesis from there, where the subject of my final thesis would be to expand M+ Group contact center to Croatia. And since Mato has Croatian roots, he very much liked the idea. So on the 3rd of September 2006, I collected all my belongings, put it in my old car, and drove down to Split. Well, Mato already had a business in Split, so there were a few colleagues that were able to receive me. They gave me a mobile phone, a desk, and they helped me to find an apartment. After being in Croatia for about 4 months, I got my first client. And a few months after that, I got my second client. And by the time that I was in Croatia for about 1 year, I had built a contact center in Split that employed 35 people. I then went back to the Netherlands, where I had to graduate, and on graduation day, I had a lunch with Mato. And Mato offered me 50% of the company on the condition that I would go back to Croatia to finish what I started and to build a magnificent business. Now, I could speak for hours about all the ups and downs that I had to go through, how I had to fight for survival month after month for years, how I had to pour in all my savings into the business in order to pay for salaries, how I doubled up my capacity, and a few months later, I lost my largest client. As you can hear, times were tough, but I knew that we were moving into the right direction. Year on year, I was doubling my revenues, and fast forward, 9 years later, the company I had founded employed over 400 people. And then, I got an offer to sell my business. I knew that by accepting an offer like this, that this would lead me straight back into discomfort. I would have to start all over again from scratch. I would have to reinvent myself. And at that moment, I didn't even know what I was going to do next. I decided to accept that offer. And the reason why I was at ease with that decision was because over the years I had learned some valuable lessons. Each time that I would put myself in uncomfortable situations, I would get to meet new people and learn new things. I would get to discover new places. And I would get to create something of value. And I realized that that is what makes me happy and gives me purpose. Right after I sold my business, I started having a lot of mixed feelings. On one hand, I was happy and proud that I managed to build a company to that level and to make an exit from it. But on the other hand, I was feeling very scared. And I remember a conversation that I had with my wife when I asked her, have I, at the age of 31, already reached the peak of my entrepreneurial career? Is this the biggest thing that I will ever do in business? Is there going to be something bigger out there that can perhaps even put what I did in the past in the shadows of the next big thing? And my wife responded to me in a way where she said, first of all, you need to ask yourself what it means to do something big. Does that mean big revenues? Does that mean big number of employees? Or should you maybe be thinking along the lines of doing something where you could leave a big social impact? And those words stayed in the back of my mind. And after giving that some time, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to put myself through hardship again. And through my entrepreneurial efforts, I wanted to do things where I could leave a big social impact on the country where my 4 children were born and where I had planned my future. So what to do next? The first thing I did next was I started a company called Webpower Adria. And just like in 2006 when I founded the contact center, with Webpower Adria, we were again able to enjoy first mover advantage, meaning that we were the first company in this country to start offering email marketing services. And in the first few years, this company was growing steadily, let's say in line with expectations. And then, all of a sudden, just like with everybody else, we were hit by this global pandemic, stuck in lockdown. And at that very moment, my pipeline looked phenomenal. I had huge companies ready to sign up for my services. And then the first phone call came. Jan, we are very sorry. We don't know how this is going to develop with the global pandemic. For time being, we will have to postpone our decision. And then the second phone call came. Jan, we had to close all our shops. We have no need for any marketing services. We can't start our cooperation just now. And I remember sitting by myself thinking, how am I going to respond to this? And then I started thinking real hard about my business and about this country. A country that for more than 20% of its GDP depends on tourism, meaning people coming into the country and spending their money here. Now, what would you do if all of a sudden those revenue streams, they dry up? And I made a parallel with, for example, what that would mean for a family. Let's say you get fired. All of a sudden there's less money coming in. What is the next thing that you do? In my opinion, if there's less money coming in, you need to make sure that there's less money going out. And the same thoughts I had about this country. If there's less money coming in, we need to make sure that there's less money going out. Especially not to buy products and services that we could be buying here, locally. And that was my inspiration to start a Web Power Buy Local campaign. So one day on LinkedIn, I wrote a post where I wrote, I, Jan de Jong, hereby solemnly swear that for every 25 companies that would switch from services like MailChimp to Web Power, that I was going to hire one full-time employee in our Zagreb office. And this post got so much traction and got covered by all the media. And as a result of all this, in the middle of a pandemic, I was able to onboard 50 new clients, opening up 2 new positions. And right now, I cannot imagine our company to be without our dear Lucia and dear Anna. Around the same time that we entered into lockdown, I was asked to be part of a panel on a virtual conference called Tourism 5.0. And I was going to get the question out of all questions. What can we do in Croatia to turn this country into a year-round destination? Now, I had to be very honest to myself and admit that I have 0 experience working in tourism. So what I did is I called a very good friend, Paul Bradbury, the owner of Total Croatian News, who writes a lot about tourism. And I asked him, could you send me a couple of articles that I can read up, perhaps tomorrow on the virtual conference? Maybe I can even sound smart. And Paul sent me over those articles, which I started reading until late in the evening. And all of a sudden, my eyes fell on 3 words: digital, nomad, tourism. And I thought by myself, yes, this is what we need to do as a country. If we are opening up our borders to receive every year 20 million tourists to come to Croatia, then why would we not open up our borders to start welcoming digital nomads, remote workers from all around the world who would want to come to Croatia, not just for a few weeks, but for several months, even all the way up to 1 year. And I mentioned that during the conference. The same evening it got covered by the evening news on HRT. And after that, on my LinkedIn profile, I started promoting Croatia as a country to be a perfect destination for remote workers from all around the world to come here, live here, and work from here for foreign clients and foreign companies. And those posts got so much traction again, and again got covered by all the media. And then one Saturday morning, I woke up early, kids were still in bed, and I thought by myself, you know what? I'm just going to ask him. I'm going to ask in an open letter on LinkedIn the Prime Minister of Croatia if he would be so kind to consider introducing a digital nomad visa in Croatia. And again, with all the support from the LinkedIn community, I could indeed confirm that our message was heard, because a couple of weeks after that, I received a phone call from the Ministry of Interior, who welcomed me for a meeting, allowing me to pitch the idea of introducing a digital nomad visa. And then something really amazing happened. First of all, they right away understood how big of an opportunity this is for Croatia. And secondly, during that meeting, they told me that they were just about to make changes to the Alien Act or the Foreigners Act. And this would probably be the perfect moment to tag along with additional legislation that would allow digital nomads to come to Croatia for up to 1 year. A few weeks after that, I also had an opportunity to meet with the Prime Minister himself, who told me in that meeting that he believes that this is where the world is going to. That more and more people will start working fully remote, and that more and more companies are going to be open to the idea of having their staff working fully remote. And that we as a country should be among the first to open up our borders and to start welcoming those remote workers to Croatia. In the months that followed, I've been working very hard with several ministries on getting all the legislation in place, and I'm super happy and super proud to share with everybody that as of January 1st this year, Croatia is officially among the first countries in the world that can welcome digital nomads for up till 12 months, during which they shall not be paying any income tax in Croatia in order to avoid double taxation. Last week, a US citizen, Melissa Paul, was the first one to officially get approved for her 12-month staying permit. Now you might wonder, Jan, where do you get the inspiration to do the things that you do? And the answer is very simple. I talk with people. And when I talk with people, I listen to their concerns. I listen to what they're unhappy about. And I listen to what they believe we should improve or start in this country. It is those people that open up my eyes and show me opportunities. It's often not the experts that will fix problems, otherwise they would have already done so. It's the people that are impacted the most by the problem that will eventually step up and start fixing things. Now, like I said, I talk with people. And when I talk with people in this country, there's always one subject that we speak very passionately about. And that subject is food. But when we speak about food in this country, it's those people that tell me that we as a country are missing out on a great opportunity, which is that we should be exporting more. We should be feeding Europe, they tell me. Well, unfortunately, the reality is different. Way in the past, before I moved to this country, it used to produce enough food to feed an entire region. Today, sadly, this country is not producing enough food to feed its own people. And after that had been frustrating me long enough, I decided that it had to be me to step up. I wanted to bring solutions for a global problem, which is how to feed a growing world population in a nutritious, reliable, and in a sustainable way. Now, there happens to be one country known for bringing such solutions. And that country is the country where I happen to be born and raised. It's the Netherlands. The Netherlands, with nearly 10,000 hectares of high-tech greenhouses, is, after the United States, the second largest exporter of food in the world. So I asked myself the question, if the United States can be first, if the Netherlands can be second, can Croatia perhaps be third? And for that exact reason, last year I founded another company called Crop, and with Crop, we plan to introduce high-tech greenhouse technology from the Netherlands to Croatia, and it is our mission to make sure that this country becomes less dependent on importing food, and that ultimately we can help turn this country back into an exporting nation like it once was. Now, I'm happy to share that we have recently decided upon the first location where we plan to build our first greenhouse, which shall be a 6-hectare greenhouse for growing tomatoes. It's an investment of about 16 million euros, opening up approximately 100 new jobs in a region that desperately needs those kind of jobs. Now, before I leave this stage, there's one other subject that I just want to touch on. And that is that I personally believe that Croatia has all the ingredients to offer its citizens among the highest standards of living in Europe. And I turn it into my own personal mission that through my entrepreneurial efforts, I can help prepare Croatia for the next generation, so that my children and your children don't have to move abroad to rainy countries to find their happiness and opportunities, but that they can find it right here in Croatia. And if that means that I, or you, or we as a country need to break rules in order to prepare it for our children, then I say, what are we waiting for? Thank you.
Jan, aplauz. Nije lako ovako pred kamerom. Thank you, Jan.
Thanks.
Thank you. We have one question through email. We had a couple of questions, but we don't have so much time. So my first question is about the tomatoes and the green plants and
Yes.
16 million euros of investment. Is
Just
that
nice, yes.
16, yes.
Yes.
Is that set, or are you finding investors?
Currently, we are finishing up our business plan. We have spent a lot of time on choosing the location.
Where's the location? You didn't.
I'm not going to disclose yet.
Is it Slavonia? I think it is.
Oh, very close by, yes.
Oh,
However, it's important that we choose a strategic location next to an energy plant, so that we can use the hot water that they are producing while generating the electricity to warm up our greenhouses. So we want to do everything in a very sustainable way.
Nice.
Yeah.
The question is, hi, the question is from Miroslav Zaric. Thank you, Miroslav. Hi, respect for what you do. One question, digital nomads, they are all around the world, and now Croatia is accommodating the first digital nomads. Is this the goal or just one point in the road? Are digital nomads a workforce, or are digital nomads workforce or just tourism force?
No, I mean, I see digital nomads that would come here to Croatia for up to 12 months. I see that as a possibility for us to turn this country into a year-round destination. For me, this is very much connected to tourists. Because these people are not going to be really part of the economy. They're not allowed to work for Croatian companies, nor are they allowed to provide services to Croatian companies. The only thing that they can do here is be in Croatia, experience all the beauty that we offer and the Mediterranean lifestyle,
spend that money.
and to spend their disposable income here.
Thank you for the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Neko iz režije, imate vi neka pitanja? What's your next plan? I mean, with the 60 million euros, okay, but do you have another like viral post or something? Do you have a problematic area you want to like talk to Plenković?
No, I mean, I think that the first greenhouse of 6 hectares, that this is going to be the first out of many. I want to build significant infrastructure for with greenhouse technology, so that we can, like I said, be less dependent on importing food, and that we can become a country that can help feed Europe from here.
When do you plan to like drop the first shovel?
That would be great if we can do that towards the end of the year.
Towards the end of the year?
Yes.
You're moving very fast. Thank you, Jan.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.